Hey YouTube, Mike the Alpha Hoarder here. Thanks for stopping by. If you don't know me, I hoard and collect alpha cards and sometimes rant about different topics while I do it. And today, as I feed the horde, I want to do a quick little conversation about FOMO and due diligence. You see, I am concerned that you see all the alpha cards that go by on my channel, and you, dear viewer, suffer the great misapprehension that I know what the hell I'm doing. I certainly do my best, as we all do, hopefully. But the truth is, my best isn't any better than your best, or the next guy's best. And I wanted to showcase that a little bit. Now, certainly in business, I've made mistakes. I ran 2 businesses that fizzled out before my third venture found any success. In real estate, I have more than one property that returns a cash-on-cash ROI of well under 10%, which, if you're in real estate, that kind of stinks. And, you know, down to miscalculations on what the renovation expenses were going to be. And even here in the playground of cardboard, where I spend so much time, I had a viewer reach out to me. Ooh, I remember this little set. I had a viewer reach out to me and challenge me on, they had an excellent market analysis. They challenged me on an auction that I had won a few months back, questioning why I paid so much. And frankly, they were right. I overpaid. So I decided to make a video along these lines, and I wanted to actually highlight the stupidest move that I've ever made in the Magic the Gathering space. Hopefully as a learning opportunity. The tape over the top. But you know, I'll get to that. I'll get to that at the end. So, what's important to remember is that bad plays happen to everybody. The key in life isn't to avoid making mistakes. That's never going to happen. Mistakes usually aren't the problem. I mean, you know, ideally you can avoid the catastrophic ones. But really what you need to be able to do is learn from your mistakes. Don't repeat them. Instead, spend your time making new ones. And being the complex social creatures that we are, we get the slight advantage that we can learn from other people's mistakes, which is a fine optimization. You don't have to personally trip on every route. But you know, you're still going to trip on a lot of them. As I said, that is life. So that leads me to the first part of my rant, which is FOMO. Nice little playset of blue elemental blast. So, what is FOMO? So in finance terms, it stands for the fear of missing out. It's the fear that you're not going to jump on an opportunity because you were too slow, either to learn what you need to learn or just to take action. And you know, everyone else is going to get on that train, and you're going to wake up as it's pulling out. And that fear is very deep. FOMO is actually way deeper than finance space. It's a fundamental human anxiety. As one of several examples, it's highly present in social interactions. You know, humans have an acute sense of their social standing and status, and the evolutionary roots behind that is super deep. You know, millions of years. And you know, our ability to be properly social, it plays into our group status, you know, our local status. It plays into our courting opportunities, and as well as the rituals, our mating successes. You know, I'm sure you've experienced, you know, a good social interaction versus a bad one. You know, these things can deeply impact your sense of self. And I love the Timberwolves, man. What a cool card. I love the art. 1 for a 1/1 that bans. Very nice. The point is that these things are very high stakes to humans. You know, the ability to have courting opportunities, it really matters for people. So I'm told. You know, having a friend group, belonging, all this stuff. And FOMO is an instinctual tool designed to make us sensitive to the sort of missteps that might, you know, damage our social placement and our social opportunities. Never know the right way to open these. I was afraid I'm going to slice the cards in half. And, you know, that's just one example. You know, resource scarcity during evolutionary history is another driver. But the point being, FOMO is a very deep instinct. It is very powerful because it helps us in several high-stakes situations. And it's capable of exerting a huge emotional pull. And the reason for that long detour is just to point out that you are not immune. What's all this? Okay. You are not immune to FOMO. I am not immune to FOMO. Nobody is immune to it. And when it sets in, even if you know it's coming, it can be a very powerful influence. So it's helpful to be aware of that, just so it doesn't catch you off guard, and so maybe you can sort of smell it if it's sneaking up on you. Let's just take a look at what we got here. I love them when they're this clean. Even the commons. Got a little chip. No big deal. Disenchant. You know, I don't love this. It's really not super easy to open a sleeve this thin without putting a lot of stress on the card. I wonder if there's a trick to that anybody knows. Disenchant. One of the more expensive commons. You know, this guy, Llanowar Elves, Sinkhole, Dark Ritual. You know, I say all the time I'm not a player, but I have no doubt this is a playable card because you just can see it in the commons. But anyway, another thing that's useful to know is that us humans, we react much more strongly to negative emotion than to positive emotion. And, you know, you'll see this all the time in your life if you know, have 10 people say something nice to you, you know, and one person says something not even nasty, even just sort of mildly judgmental. You'll fixate on that one thing, you know, all day, completely at the exclusion of all the other stuff that was fine or ordinary. And, you know, we know we have these reactions, and so we can actually stress in anticipation of you know, missing an opportunity and then having that feeling, that negative emotional response. And so, you know, that instinct combined with FOMO, which is a deep instinct, it can be very tough to resist. So knowing this can help, but it doesn't make you immune. And I think that probably brings me back to my story. So let me just peel these last couple cards open and give them a look. So one of the things that I did when I got back into the hobby, like most people, I found some of the popular YouTubers, you know, Rudy's channel, and I started getting into sealed a little bit. Man, this is really annoying. I don't want to go at this with my fingernail. I feel like it'll go right through the sleeve. I haven't seen this before. But anyway, I started getting into sealed, And in particular, I moved quite a bit against revised starter decks. Basically, I just, for a very long time, I bought as many as I could, you know, as long as they were under $800. It's just, you know, I feel the market had that priced wrong for a very long time. And, you know, I'm not talking the display bricks like, you know, Rudy or Dan from Open Boosters has. I'm just talking about the loose starter decks. But, you know, I do love those things. I got a bunch of them. But after a while, I did actually start getting to that price. You know, the $800 price started setting in. And I slowed down, and then I eventually stopped. And I wanted to keep diversifying, you know, my sealed position into other things at that point. And so one of the first ones I did was a set that interested me quite a bit, which was this set right here, Portal 3 Kingdoms. So, you know, I didn't know about this set when I was younger. And, you know, I'm not going to do a deep dive into it, but, you know, just quickly, it's a 180 card set. It came out in 1999, and it followed the two earlier sets, Portal 2, and these were sort of like introductory sets, you know, entry products, I guess, for newer players. You know, to help them get into the game. The rules are quite complicated. And Portal 3 was targeted at Asian markets. It was never sold in North America, although it does seem that a few made it to North American stores. But it was printed in 4 different languages, the majority of the print run being non-English. And then there was a small slice of the print run released in Australia and New Zealand that was English. And originally the cards were not tournament legal, although that changed, I think it was 2005, I want to say, something like that. But, you know, the set was not very popular. Most of the cards are not very good. When it became tournament legal, a couple of the cards did become valuable. But, you know, it's just a very unique set. It's got a strange history. It's the first set since Arabian Nights where the story is set on real Earth history. You know, this is the tale of the Three Kingdoms period in Chinese history, which was this very bloody time, you know, in the 200 ADs. But, you know, so it's definitely a cool set, and I was interested in it. So how rare are these cards? I've never found print run numbers for Portal 3 Kingdoms. But as a proxy for that, you know, if you just look at TCG Player, there are 55 rares in the set. And on TCG Player today, the day I'm recording this, every single one of those rares is in stock, and the average rare has 16 listings. So it was actually between 6 and 35, but on average, every rare has 16 listings. That's quite a bit more than Alpha or Beta. Both Alpha and Beta, you're going to find a bunch that are out of stock. You're going to find many that are single-digit listings. But it's quite a bit less than Unlimited, or Arabian Nights, or Antiquities. Those all have just more. So, you know, I guess the rarity is, it's not as rare as Beta, but that's still pretty damn rare. There's a few expensive cards. So just from the TCG Player low, about half of the rares, 29 of the rares, the low is in the $100 to $300 price range. You've got Imperial Seal, that's over $1,000, and there's 3 or 4 more that are going to be in the $350 to $650 range. So, you know, there's some good lottery hits. You know, those numbers are not where those cards were priced when I was buying this, but still, you know, it scales proportionally. So, you know, I did know a little bit more about this set when I came back into the hobby. And I was interested in the booster packs like I just showed. There were a handful of booster boxes on the market at the time. But they were they were pretty expensive even then. I think now those things are like 50 grand. I don't remember what they were, but they were expensive. And, you know, I wasn't looking to make that kind of move. But then this came along. Take a look at this guy. What have we here? Portal 3 Kingdoms. So, this guy showed up. Now, I'm sort of from the old school, I guess. I've always preferred starter decks over booster boxes. And so, you know, I saw this thing came up as a listing. 12 starter decks. You know, time was running out on the auction, and the price was just really low. It was way below. Ooh, nice set. It was way below what the booster boxes were. So, you know, I pulled it up. I started looking at it, and I tried to figure out what's going on. A couple things I noticed: the seller had low feedback, but not zero. So, you know, it wasn't a brand new seller, but it was very low feedback seller. So that's always a bit risky. It had to ship internationally. That can make returns and disputes challenging. And the other thing is the seller, for some reason, had decided to wrap this in like plastic gift wrap. You know, like a plastic, I don't know how to describe it. And just the way they had wrapped it, it had, you know, it was like separated in different spaces, but in the picture, it looked like the seal was broken. It looked like it was no longer sealed. You couldn't tell they had put their own plastic around it. And so, you know, after staring at it for a while, I just started thinking to myself, you know, that's why this price is so low. This thing isn't actually sealed, even though the guy says sealed. You know, it's got big rips. He's got almost no feedback. You know, of course no one wants to touch this. But as I stared at it, I realized that I could see the logos. The logos didn't line up with what appeared to be the plastic wrapping. And after staring at it for a long time, I contacted the seller, asked for a few other pictures, and I realized that it was in fact sealed. And they had done, you know, what I said with the outer wrapping. And that is when the hype and the FOMO kicked in. Because all of a sudden I'm thinking, holy crap. Everyone else thinks this isn't sealed. I'm the only one who realizes it is. What if someone else notices before, you know, I just figured this out. I better get this before someone else realizes. And, you know, right around this time, Rudy, I think, had done a video. Definitely not going to be able to point you to the specific one, but it featured old boxes and a little discussion about how much they had appreciated. And so, you know, that's in my head. It's part of the hype loop. The FOMO was there. And I decided to grab it before anyone else realized it was properly sealed. What I did not decide to do was my due diligence. This specific thing is not a product I was familiar with. I didn't take the time to learn about it. And some of you watching have already been chuckling because you know exactly what I did wrong. Here's the problem. For the rest of you who don't know, there were no starter decks for Portal 3 Kingdoms. These are not starter decks. You can probably tell from the size having it in person. It was less obvious in the picture. These are not starter decks. These are pre-constructed introduction decks. I think there's 3 different varieties for the 3 kingdoms. The cards inside are known, listed. And they stink, frankly. There is no Imperial Seal. There's none of the hits. It's a garbage product. This appeals to an extremely narrow part of the market for people that just like, you know, novel sealed stuff with the unusual history. But that was not why I bought it. That was not my goal when I bought that. I bought that looking for appreciation. And you know, I don't think I got that. I let FOMO stop me from doing due diligence, and you know, I'm careful with my money. You know, it's not like that's the sort of thing I would have thought myself likely to do, but it happens. So, what can you learn from my mistake? Very simple. Make sure you know your stuff. Be aware of FOMO and always do your due diligence. No matter what channel you're watching, you know, if it's mine, you know, seeing this stuff, anyone else's, if someone holds up something and says, this is a buy, this is too cheap, this is misaligned with the market, whatever, you know, this set or this rarity or this type of grade or whatever, don't jump into action. Never make an investment unless you understand and agree with the reasoning that someone else is using when they tell you, when they recommend something. And never invest based on an emotional response. When you feel that emotional response, it's very possible that is your FOMO instinct way deep down kicking in. And that is a bug, not a feature. What a pile. I like this. It's like a collage of alpha. Really nice set too. Sometimes I'm ranting so much I forget to appreciate them as much as I should. Sorry about that. I always love the artifact coloring. Wish I hadn't changed that later. Yeah, so this was emotional. This was FOMO driven. I was so fixated on the chance to get that big win before someone else, and you know, instead I got a big turd. That's what I got. Even Rudy doesn't want this. I actually messaged him, I don't know, a couple years ago, through his Patreon, and you know, that guy, he loves sealed stuff. That's like his thing. He didn't want it. And so that's the lesson, I guess. That's the point of my rant. Don't be like me. Don't buy expensive turds. This was a $4,500 turd, and I consider that a near total loss. I don't know what it's worth today. You know, if it was half of that, I would actually be surprised. But you know the products you're buying. Know the pitfalls of the hobby that you're entering in. Do not buy alpha cards. No matter how much you like what you might see here or on any other channel, do not buy alpha cards if you don't understand about inking, about rebacking, about clipped corners. If you haven't spent some time working out the market depth, you know, by card or rarity, if you haven't looked at pop reports. I don't really showcase my slabs, but you know, if you see them somewhere, you love them, you want some slabs, don't touch them unless you understand, you know, buying the card and not the grade. You understand the pop reports, how to find them and read them. You know why the different companies command different markups, and you know how the different companies distribute their grades. Do your due diligence. And you know, make sure that whatever you're buying is a good buy on its own fundamentals, not on its current trend. And that's why FOMO is bad and due diligence is good. And of course the golden rule, if it's too good to be true, it is. But yeah, so now, even with all that, it's not going to protect you from bad buys and from mistakes. Those things happen. It's just life. Hopefully it protects you from stupid buys and giant turds. You know, I'll take bad over stupid, and I'll take a mistake over a turd any day. Ooh. Love this guy. Nice way to end it. Very cool card. Something about the artwork. You know, is he carrying a guy? Is that like a limp body or something? Yeah, love it. Very nice. So, yeah, that's my rant today. As I said in the beginning, I show this because I think it's easy for YouTube and social media. It creates these false little snapshots, these artificial narratives of someone's experience. And, you know, it might give the impression that someone's just cruising through life or whatever, set an unreasonable expectation. You know, the theme in my videos is that success is a grind, but it's also, you know, it's never a straight line. In fact, I'd say being successful is a measure of how well you can trip and fail, but then get back up and keep running. You know, it's not about avoiding all the pitfalls and the failures. Not really. It's about learning from them. Avoid the ones you can, so you don't have to take the extra hits. But really, it's about getting good at standing back up and carrying on. And so, I wanted to disillusion anyone who might see this channel and you know, get that impression. If you imagined I swooped into this, you know, smooth sailing, and if you're not able to replicate that, there's something wrong with you. Well, no, that's not at all the case. I stumbled and tripped my way into this, and you know, this beautiful box here is proof of that. Thanks for watching today's video. If you enjoyed it, you could really help me and the channel out if you sculpted a statue out of marble in my likeness and then shipped it to Hasbro. See you next time.